Yesterday, I was chatting with my friend Taylor Drayson and explaining some of the things I had built into my new starter site. He casually mentioned that there's one thing inside of his starter site that he can't live without, and when he showed it to me, I was absolutely blown away. It's a fairly simple snippet you can add to your website, but it unlocks a ton of power when it comes to dynamic data. This system is actually going to allow us to do things like putting dynamic data inline with other text, give us the ability to use ACF options pages, and we can actually pull in dynamic data through query strings. Some of this was possible with GenerateBlocks before, but you'd kind of have to hack your way through it. But the system Taylor's developed has made this absolutely dead simple to do, and it's unlocked tons of new features that were just simply not available before. So that's enough talking about it. Let's go ahead and dive in and take a look. You're going to be absolutely blown away with all the options and power that's available to you, and I know you're going to want to start implementing this right away. So let's dive in and take a look. So I think the easiest way to explain how this snippet works, and for the record, I've already added this snippet to my site. The easiest way to show you this is to show you something similar that you might already be familiar with. So I'm going to jump here into my elements, and we're going to go to my footer element. Now, most of you, if you're using GenerateBlocks, you're probably creating your footer with GenerateBlocks. And when you do, here in the element tab, you see this current year template tag. You can see it's formatted with two curly braces and then the words current_year. Now, when you stick this inside of your template here, of course, this only works here inside this footer template, but when you stick that in there, we'll go ahead and copy this URL, paste it, and go to the front end. And when we scroll down to the bottom, we'll see where we had current year in the back end, it's outputting the actual current year on the front end. And so this is actually formatted through a template tag system. And what I'm going to be showing you today is a new template tag system that Taylor Drayson came up with that's going to allow you to do a lot of things like this in terms of bringing in dynamic data from a lot of different sources, but using something as simple as a couple curly brackets and some easy to remember naming convention. So I think for the first example here, I'm going to show you a problem that I've run into inside of GenerateBlocks a lot of times, the workaround that I've used, and how this solution solves it. So we'll go over here to this events page I've set up on our website. Here at the top of every event, I have a mixture of static and dynamic data. So the words live on are static data, where August 4th, 2023 is dynamic. It's pulling in a custom field from this post type that's saying the date of the event. The word at is static, and then we have a dynamic field for all the times where I'm showing the times in different time zones. Now, if we jump in here into this element where I've set up the content template to display this single post type, and we'll open up the sidebar here so we can see the list view, we can see I've actually used 4 different heading blocks to just get this one line of text on my site. We have the live on as its own, and then we have one here for the post meta for the date. Then we have the at as its own block, and then the dynamic data for the times. You'll know when you go in here and set up dynamic data inside of GenerateBlocks, we go down here, we enable dynamic data, and we can set whatever the source is. If we wanted to set a custom field, we would just scroll down here to post meta, and then we type in our custom field. The problem being, we can't put text before or after that. It's its own isolated block. But with this system, with the template tag system, we actually can do all of this in line. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and set a new headline block. We'll change it to paragraph, and we're just going to recreate what we have up here. Just for reference, this custom field for my event date is event_date, and the one for the times is event_times. So this is the way it works. We're going to go ahead and just type in live on, since that's the static data that will be on every single page. And then we're going to start our template tag by doing 2 opening curly brackets. Now here, because we are bringing in a field, we're going to type the word field, period. Now, as we go through this demo, you're going to see there's some different naming conventions depending on which kind of dynamic data you're bringing in, but it's all really logical, so I don't think it'll be a problem. Once we have the word field and the dot in there, now we can type the name of our field. So this was event date. Now we can close our curly brackets and write the next bit of data. So here we'll put at, and now we need more dynamic data. So again, we'll do field dot, and this was event_times, and we can close out those curly brackets. Now with this set in the back end, we'll go ahead and update this. We'll go back to the front end and refresh. You can see this new one we put in with the template tags is displaying the same exact information as the old system, except we were able to do this on just one heading block rather than doing it in 4 separate headings. Now, this is just one example where this comes in handy, but I've been really jealous of the way this works inside of builders like Bricks, where you can insert dynamic data anywhere in the middle of any kind of paragraph or group of text. With this template tag system, we can now have that same benefit here inside GenerateBlocks. But really, this is just scratching the surface of what is possible with this new system. I'm going to go back in here and show you another one of my favorite systems here, and that's when we set up a thank you page. You'll see on this site, I already have a thank you page set up, which we can go take a look at. Here it just says thank you and we'll be in touch soon. But one way to really personalize this is to bring in the visitor's name. So I'm often sending people to a thank you page after they filled in a form. So at that point, I've collected their name. Well, with this template tag system, we can actually inject the user's name onto the front end of the website. So instead of this just saying thank you, it would say thank you, Kyle, or whoever the name is of the person who submitted the form. This is honestly super simple to set up. All we need is a form and then our template tag inside of this thank you page. So on the back end of this site, I already have a form set up with Fluent Forms. I know this works with lots of different form plugins and you might be using a different one. But what we're going to do in here is go into the settings where we're going to configure the action that happens after somebody submits the form. You might just be showing a message, you might want to send them to a page or to a custom URL. In this case, we're going to send them to a page and we're going to select the thank you page. Now, what we need to do next is pass field data via a query string. So if you've not done that before, it might sound a little intimidating, but it's actually quite simple. What we're going to do is we're going to pass in the user's first name, which is something I'm collecting in this form, and we're going to pass it into the URL. So to do that, we need to come up with some kind of naming convention. I'm just going to say client name as what I want to bring in for the client name and put equals. Now, I'm going to have to bring in some of the dynamic data from Fluent Forms here, and we do that by clicking these 3 dots, and we're going to bring in the first name. So what this is going to do is after this form's submitted, it's going to redirect them to this thank you page, and then it's going to put in a query string that says client name equals, and then it's going to bring in whatever the client filled in as their name. So let's go ahead and just take a look at how that works. I already have this form set up on a dashboard here on the front end. So we'll go to /dashboard, and here we'll fill in Kyle Van Deusen, and we'll just put test, and we'll submit the form. So now that we've submitted the form, you can see it's redirected us to this thank you page, but take a close look at the URL up here. It's appended the end of this URL with a question mark, then client name equals Kyle. Remember, client name is the parameter I gave this, and then the equals Kyle, it's bringing in the dynamic data for whatever I filled in on that form. So now if we go in here to this thank you page and we add our template tag, we'll just do a comma, and then we'll do the 2 curly braces. This time, instead of a field, we're wanting to bring in a query parameter. So we're going to type in the word query with a period. And then we need to put client name, which is the name of the query I put in there. So now for this template tag, we have the opening brackets, query dot, and then client name, then the closing brackets. So we'll go ahead and update this, and we'll try submitting our form again. So this time we'll go back to our dashboard, and we'll submit this as Joe Blow, and we'll just do test, and we'll submit the form. Now you can see on the thank you page, it's bringing in the name Joe. The template tag is just bringing in whatever this query parameter is. So if I change that to Kyle, it's going to bring in the name Kyle. If I change this to Pantera, it's going to change it to Pantera. This is a really awesome use of being able to customize some things on your page without having to set up tons of different pages. Another great example of this is if you're bringing in traffic from multiple different areas and you want to show them something different, you can do that through this query parameter where you would just set up some kind of query string in your URL and then show information on that page. But honestly, I'm really now only getting to the best part of what this template tag system affords us. I'm going to show you something that might be quite new to you, and it's going to require a paid plugin, but it's something that a lot of people already have. But I'm telling you, if you're not using a system like this, I think you're going to want to implement it right away. So what we're going to be doing here is setting up an options page. And if you've never set up an options page before, the way I like to think about it is like setting up custom fields that apply globally to your entire site. Now, we'll go into some examples here of why that's handy, but let's go ahead and take a look at how you set up an options page. I do have Advanced Custom Fields Pro installed. You do have to have the Pro version to have this, but once you have that installed and activated, under your ACF menu, you'll have this option for options page. So we're gonna go ahead and click on that, and this is just like adding a new custom post type. We're gonna go ahead and hit Add New, and we're gonna call this Business Details. Now, with all that filled in, we'll just go ahead and hit Save Changes. And now you can see at the bottom left corner of our menu bar over here, we have this new option for business details. Of course, right now, this is just completely blank. We need to create some custom fields for this. So we'll go back to ACF and we'll go to Field Groups. We'll create a new field group to match the business details. And we'll put in a few different fields that could be for our client's details. So to give you an example, the first one could be company name. We'll go ahead and add another one, and this could be company phone. And we'll add another one. We'll change this to an email field, and we'll change this to company email. Now, why would I set all this up inside of these options? Basically, the idea is we're probably going to repeat ourselves by using the company name, the company phone, and the company email all across this website in multiple places. The advantage of doing this all through an options page is we can set all this information in one single place and then display it using these template tags all across our website. So if this information ever changes in the future, we can update it in one place and it will dynamically update across our entire site. The last thing we need to do is go ahead and assign this to show up with our options page. So I'm going to scroll down here to options page under the show this field group if, and we'll say if the options page is equal to business details, which is the one we created. So we'll go ahead and hit save changes here. And now if we go back to the business details, we can see we have those new fields we filled in. So we'll just say ABC Company. We'll say their phone number is 555-555-5555, and we'll say abc@company.com. Now we can go ahead and hit update. So now we need to go ahead and use these template tags inside of the templates or pages on our website. So I think the first most logical place to do that is inside of our footer template. So I'm going to go in here to elements and then to footer. So we already have some of this information already in here, but it's all statically put in. So here under company name, we have just the company name written in, we have the phone number written in, and we have the email address written in. But of course, these things are going to appear all across our website, so it would make more sense to have every instance of them dynamically linked back to the options page where we have one home base to change them dynamically across the site. So here, instead of company name, I'm going to open our curly brackets. And for the options inside the options page, we have to type the word theme, period. Then we just go ahead and put in the field name, which was company_name, and close our brackets. So now instead of this just showing the company name written statically inside the website, it's going to bring it in dynamically from the options page. We can also go ahead and do this for the phone number and email address since we set up options for those as well. We'll do our opening brackets, we'll type in theme period, and for this one we'll do company_phone and close the brackets. For the email address, opening brackets, theme.company_email, and we'll close the brackets. Now what's even cooler about this is we can also reference all of this inside the URLs. So if we want to actually link this to the email, I'm going to highlight this and copy this to my clipboard. We'll click link, and for this we'll do mail to : and then we'll paste in that template tag. Hit enter, and we can copy the phone template tag, hit the link, and we'll do tell : and paste that in there, and we'll go ahead and hit update. Now on the front end, we should actually be seeing the dynamic data come in from those template tags. So we'll go here to the front end of the site, scroll down to the footer, and we can see the 555, which if you look in the bottom left corner is linked to that telephone link, and the email address is linked here. Now, if you're not immediately seeing how awesome this is, let me give you an example. Let's say you've put in this information all across the website. Obviously, you have the company name, the phone number, and email address here in the footer, but you'd probably do the same thing inside the contact page, and you might have the phone number and some calls to action. Well, let's say the client comes back 6 months later and says, you know what, we actually just changed our email address and we need you to update it on the website. If you just statically put in all of this information across the entire website, then you'd have to go through and find every instance of it and replace it.
Like a chomp.
But with this system, all we need to do is go back to the back end of the website, go to our business details, and we can change the email address. So instead of abc@company.com, this could be abc@abccompany.com. We'll go ahead and hit update. We'll go back to the front end, scroll down to our footer, and we can see this is updated not only the text here, but it's also updated the link, which you can see at the bottom left corner of the screen. This is such a huge time saver to have all this information in one place. Not only could you have these bits of contact information, you could also include other things that are repeated all across the site. This could be things like the social media links to their different social media profiles, their address, and a whole lot more. There's actually a lot of content out there on what to do with options pages. I've just never covered any of it because until I had this template tag system, there was really no good way to access option pages inside GenerateBlocks since there's no direct integration. Honestly, this feature alone makes having this snippet completely worth it just to have these options pages. But wait, there's actually more. I've already shown you 3 awesome ways you can use this template tag system to really improve the dynamic data on your website, but there's lots of other options inside this system. We can bring in user meta information, which is great if you have any kind of membership site or a place where people are logging into your WordPress website. We can bring in author meta information. Some of that's already available inside of GenerateBlocks, but this makes it easier and gives you the access to options that weren't previously available. We can also bring in WordPress functions or create our own functions and then bring those in through the template tag system. Honestly, if I was to try to show you everything you could do with this snippet, this video would be 2 hours long. But there's one other thing I do want to demonstrate inside this video, and that's the ability to create custom hooks inside of the template tags. Now, if you're not familiar with hooks, hooks are different places you can dynamically insert content all across the website. GeneratePress actually gives you a lot of hook areas here, as you can see inside this graphic. Everywhere that has one of these color bars is one of the hooks that's available inside of GeneratePress. You have things like before the header, after the header, before the sidebar, after the content. There's a lot of options in here. However, not everything is available. With this template tag system, we can actually create our own custom hooks so we can hook something in wherever we want it on our website. Now, to demonstrate this, I'm going to actually go back to our admin bar website where there's lots of content already built in. And we'll go ahead and create some kind of simple call to action that we can hook in dynamically across anywhere on our site. So here I'm going to go to the elements and we'll add a new element and we'll call this a block element and we'll say demo CTA. Now, just for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to do something really simple here and we'll just do a headline block and we'll have it say join the group and then we'll do a button underneath it and we'll say join now. And we'll just go ahead and give this a link. Like I said, this is just for demonstration, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time making this look pretty. But essentially what we have here is a call to action that says join the group with a button that would link to joining the group. Now here under the element tab is where we decide where we want this element to display. By default, this is already set to hook, which is great. And if we do this pull down, we can see all the hooks that are available to us. But what we want to do in this instance is actually use a custom hook, which is located at the very bottom. So we'll go ahead and select custom hook here, and then we get to give this hook a name. So I'm just going to call this demo_CTA just for demo purposes. Lastly, we need to decide where this hook is allowed to display. Again, for demo purposes, I'm going to use entire site, but if you were only wanting this to show in specific places, you could just select the places where you want it to show. With these things set, we'll go ahead and hit publish. And we'll go back to the back end of our website. Now let's say we want this to show on our Accessibility Weekly post. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the Accessibility Weekly single post, and we're going to find a strange place we might want to hook this in. So let's say here in the middle of Amber's bio, we want to go ahead and hook this call to action in. It's a terrible practical example, but this is going to show you that you can really use this so custom. You can put this hook in anywhere you want. So for this, we're going to do the double opening brackets, and you guessed it, for this one, we're going to do hook dot, and we're going to call this demo_CTA since that's what we named our custom hook. So now we'll go ahead and update this template, and we'll quickly go to the front end. We'll go find an Accessibility Weekly post, and we'll scroll down to where Amber's bio is. And here you can see now our call to action we created has been dynamically hooked into the middle of her bio. Obviously, there's no built-in GeneratePress hook that goes in the middle of somebody's bio because that's something I created on my own. But with this template tag system, we can hook into anywhere, absolutely anywhere on our site just by using a simple template tag. So if I've done a good job explaining this, or you were able to fight through my terrible job of explaining it and figure it out anyways, then I'm sure you're really excited to figure out how you can actually add this to your website. So like I said at the top of this video, this was actually a system that was developed by my good buddy Taylor Drayson, and he's put this up on his Snippet Club's website. Now, traditionally, the Snippet Club's website is a membership site. You pay a yearly fee and you get access to tons of great snippets like this one. In fact, I've sent a ton of you there already for people who are asking how I did the mega menu on the admin bar's website, which is a snippet I use from Snippet Club. Now, unfortunately, I've had a lot of people tell me that they'd love to get access to some of those snippets, but they weren't quite ready to pay for a yearly subscription. So I worked with Taylor on this snippet for the template tags and asked him if he would go ahead and set up a one-time fee just to get your hands on this snippet. I think this is such a powerful way to really boost up all the dynamic data options inside of GenerateBlocks, and I wanted to get this into everybody's hands. So Taylor's agreed to go ahead and sell this one-off snippet at a flat fee of $20. Now I'm telling you, we just scratched the surface of everything that's going to be possible to do with this snippet here inside this demo, but even the options page system alone is something that's going to be worth well more than $20, even if you only use it one time. So there's a link down in the video description below that's going to take you to Taylor's website where you can go ahead and purchase this snippet today. If you're anything like me, you're going to start thinking of all the sites you want to go back to and implement this system because it really does improve the quality of life and give you so many options that just weren't there before. A huge thank you to Taylor for making this option available. I know this is going to help a ton of people out, so if you would, drop a comment down below and give Taylor a huge thanks. Now, if you got something from this video, I would love for you to hit the thumbs up button, and if you want to make sure to catch the next one, go ahead and hit subscribe, and we'll see you then.